So Alabama jumps out to the 28-0 lead. Arkansas then makes it 28-23, and a lot of Alabama fans were worried that here we go again. Once again, a tough time on the road, but it seemed like in the fourth quarter, not just the explosive plays on offense, but the defense as well really turned it up a notch.
Yeah, they held us in this game. I mean, they did a great job. Of course, third quarter, given Arkansas, I think they scored 16 points in that third quarter alone. A lot of it was just mistakes that we created ourselves. It wasn't exactly what Arkansas did to really just beat us. It was the missnap on the punt, and there was just a lot of errors that we kind of gave them a lot of opportunity to stay in that game. And Arkansas putting together a pretty good drive right there before halftime to get it cut it down to 28-7 with momentum going into halftime. All the things that happened in that third quarter. They pull it within 5 in the third, and then Alabama takes over. But that defense really did a great job because Arkansas had opportunities late in that third, early in that fourth quarter. They were moving the ball and holding them to field goals in a lot of those situations. And then our offense really took over and put up, 21 points in the fourth quarter to really extend that lead and close out that game and make it a wider margin of victory. But it was a little dicey there in that third quarter. And Coach Saban talked about it in his press conference. The greatest thing that we did on offense, even after Bryce goes down, but even when Bryce was still playing, we just had a lot of explosive plays, a lot of big passes earlier. Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, even earlier in the game. We just had a lot of young guys. And those are two freshmen that have really stepped up for these wide receiver groups that we weren't sure when Tyler Harrell was going to come back. We saw JoJo Earl come back and make a big play for us, score a touchdown for us. That's great to get him going. And we saw, once we hit that one, that was a good mismatch that they found against the safety. I can't remember the guy's name, number 2, but we exposed that matchup all night long. Prentice with a quick slant. It reminded me a lot of when Tua and Jalen were back, where we just came out and hit slants and let those guys, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, just get the ball in their hands and let them break free. Getting mismatches on the safety is something that we took advantage of all night, and we saw that happen a few times. But you get a man-to-man coverage like we did with some of these wide receivers, and no help over the top, and you got a safety trying to cover the guy in the slot who's obviously a wideout. He was playing in the slot and goes out there, just makes an explosive play, and nobody has a chance to catch him.
And as a linebacker, a quick slant. I mean, what are you doing on a play like that?
Yeah, you're play and run. Your first step's downhill. You're obviously looking, and you're just trying to get in the window. That's the biggest thing you can do. But these quarterbacks are so good at seeing what kind of matchups they have, and the ball comes out so quick. You can't get wide enough to get a hand in the window, and you're hoping that your defensive line really, if they're trying to rush, their hands aren't up and trying to get in those throwing lanes. And with as fast as that ball comes out, there's no chance for anybody to be able to get their hands up and bat that ball down. That's the only way you can really stop those is you get a defensive end who's coming off the ball and gets his hands up pretty quick and gets in the way. I think he did great. And I tell you what, this is why you get him reps as much as you possibly can in these games that are leading up to this. And I tell you what else is impressive is with NIL and the transfer portal, this is the benefit of being able to keep a quarterback that's the backup. He's a highly recruited guy coming out of high school. We were excited to get him, but he was coming in and he's going to be Bryce's backup. And he sticks around. You see a lot of guys that just immediately enter the transfer portal when they're not getting the playing time early. This is the benefit of being able to keep and it's a hard thing for the coaches to do is managing a roster is keeping quarterbacks that are happy and sticking around because you just never know when you're one play away from having to step up. And if Jalen Milroe's not there, we're looking at a freshman and Ty Simpson that's going to be the guy to step in. Jalen he realizes that what he's going to learn and what the experience that he's going to get out of playing for Alabama is exactly what he's going through right now. He's preparing himself for down the road, and he was prepared to go in. This was a huge moment for him on the road. We're up. We had a lead. But the game was definitely not in hand, and it was only a quarter and a half into the game. We still got a lot of football left to play. I thought he held his composure extremely well, and it also makes it really tough for Arkansas, who comes in the week preparing for a Bryce Young, and then all of a sudden you get a Jalen Milroe, who I think the broadcast said looks like a Derrick Henry playing quarterback. And it's a completely different package that you got to play for. He's not going to be the downfield passer that Bryce Young is, but you saw what he did with that 70-yard run. He's got a lot of plays that he can make with his feet, but he's also got a very capable arm. I was extremely impressed by the way he came in, and even more so in that third quarter with all the things that were going wrong, he was still able to go out there and perform at a very high level. We talked about last week coming out fast and shutting the crowd noise down. And I thought that we did a great job this past Saturday in Arkansas. The first drive we opened up with, we hit Kobe Prentice early on, moving the ball extremely well. And then all of a sudden turn it over with the tip ball and the interception right off the bat. Arkansas takes over from the 1. I thought what we did a phenomenal job of was just forgetting that and moving on from that. And that's a huge lesson for this team is whatever happens, you got to forget about it. Coach Saban always talks about each play has a life and history of its own. Put it in the past, you can't do anything about it. And although we had things going the right way and it turns into a turnover, the defense goes out there and gets some stops and then creates a fumble of their own just a couple drives later as Arkansas is moving the ball. Those are the types of things out of these games against tough SEC opponents that you can really draw from and learn a lot of lessons from. Is that even though things might not go our way, we've still got to stand up and go out there and execute like we're supposed to. And it's going to require that for this stretch. Texas A&M going to be the next test that we have coming up. And the way they looked this past weekend against Mississippi State, taking a beating from Mike Leach's team, and I guarantee you Texas A&M we all have had this game circled. This is an important one after what we saw last year, and it's going to be a tough test. Jimbo, for whatever reason, knows how to call a great game plan against the Coach Saban coach team, and we're going to have to be ready to bounce back. You got to block out all the noise, not worry about who's going to be quarterback. Defense is going to be expected to have a good game. Texas A&M's got a lot of weapons. They can still make a lot of plays. Even though they haven't shown us a ton through this part of the season so far, we know they've recruited well. It's just a matter of them going out and executing, and they can look good at any point. They've got a lot of weapons on that sideline, and Max Johnson's gotten a lot of experience with Jimbo's offense after he transferred in from LSU. And not sure who's going to be the quarterback for them this week. I think he had a little bit of an injury maybe this past weekend as well. So it's going to be tough. This is just going to be a tough test. Texas A&M is not. They've got a lot of guys on their sideline that are playmakers.